Good evening. It's wonderful to see you all here. I won't interrupt the conversations for long. I'm Sandra Peart, Dean of the Jepson School of Leadership Studies, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our 2025 Prelude event. What makes the Jepson School so special, in addition to our focus on the study of leadership, is that we're a close-knit academic community. This evening and for the foreseeable future, our faculty, staff, and current students will welcome our class of 2025 to our community. Your professors write about leadership in Namibia or under authoritarian regimes. They teach courses such as Killers and Cults, Reimagining Richmond, and folk music and protest thought, along with required courses in critical thinking and quantitative social science and theories and models, which many of you will take soon. They will open a world of new ideas for you from a variety of perspectives, including anthropology, English literature, history, philosophy, psychology, political science, and sociology. I'd like to invite our faculty and staff to stand so that we can recognize them. Among the class of 2025 incoming Jepson students are presidential scholars, Bonner scholars, a Fulbright scholar, an Oldham scholar, and an Oliver Hill scholar. 2 of you received Richmond College's Mateer Prize, and many of you have made the Dean's List multiple semesters since arriving to the university. 7 of you are student fellows at the MacDowell Institute, and 3 of you have already worked with Jepson faculty on their research projects. In this class, newly admitted class, we have also, for the second time, a child of a Jepson alum. Welcome. You serve as RAs, as orientation assistants, tour guides, and tutors, or as alumni engagement ambassadors on the President's Advisory Council and on the Honor Council, Richmond College Student Government, Westhampton College Student Government. And after next Tuesday's election, there will be another election soon, perhaps not quite as much riding on this one as last night. 3 of you will serve as sophomore senators for the Jepson School Government Association. Congratulations in advance to those. Your writers, consultants, volunteers, Division I athletes and club athletes, and cheerleaders. You work in a variety of offices at the University of Richmond, including athletics, UR Communications, the Maudlin Center, Career Services, the Cellar, Spider Shop, Weinstein Recreation, and the Wellbeing Center, admissions, and the CSI. 2 of you, I discovered this evening, have last names that start with what we in Canada say or call the letter Z. For those of you who have need that explained, the letter Z. Those 2 students will be the last students who are recognized at commencement in 2028. We're excited to welcome all of you to the Jepson School, and we're very excited about tonight's program. Now we're going to take some time to enjoy the conversation that I interrupted a couple of minutes ago and some delightful food. Our colleagues from catering, Braden, will invite you to the dining area table by table. So wait for Braden to come and release you, and then go ahead and help yourselves. I look forward to the rest of the program. Thanks.
Hi, guys. Oh. I don't want to interrupt the great conversations that are being had, but we want to kind of get the program moving, if that's okay with everybody. Yeah? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Nora Cahill. I'm a junior at the Jepson School. When I was originally asked to give this speech tonight, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. One of the best parts of being a Jepson student is the autonomy that you get to pursue your own interests, but sometimes that autonomy can backfire, like when you're told to give a speech about what advice you would give if you had to start over as a Jepson student. So there's so much that Jepson has to offer that I've discovered during my time at the school, and it would be impossible for me to talk about all of it tonight. So I've managed to narrow it down to perhaps the topic that I can best advise on, which is the professors at the school. So in a quick show of hands, who here has used, Rate My Professor before registering for classes? Yeah. Has anybody, talked to upperclassmen or friends about which classes they should take? Yeah. Has anybody ever avoided a class because of a professor? Yes. So clearly, all of us are pretty concerned about who our professors are, and for a good reason. Professors can really dictate how well a class goes for you. A good professor can make even the most boring subject interesting, and a bad professor can sometimes make you reevaluate your whole academic career. But they dictate not only our grades, but also our experience for that hour and 15 minutes that we're in class, or if you take a class with Dr. Price at any point, that 2 hours and 40 minutes that you're going to be in class. So it's natural as students that we'd be concerned about the quality of our professors, but luckily for you, you've all just been admitted to the school with, in my opinion, the best professors on campus. So your professors are some of the best resources available to you, and I think that far too many students often hesitate to take advantage of that. I've personally had several doors open to me because of my relationship with professors. For example, my Jepson internship that I completed this summer was because of a connection that Dr. Bazayo had. Additionally, I've also been incredibly lucky to have such a great mentor at the Jepson School, Dr. Hoyt. Dr. Hoyt was my Leadership 102 professor the spring of my freshman year, and once I heard her say that she conducted research with students, I knew immediately that I wanted to be one of her research students. Since then, we've done research together every semester. We've conducted and surveyed countless experiments, and she's been a guiding light for me, not only in my academic career, but also in my personal life. And while I could continue on with my soliloquy about how much I love Dr. Hoyt, she's definitely not the only professor in the Jepson School that's shown me so much kindness. Dr. Guzel let me reschedule a review session so I could buy a cheaper plane ticket. Dr. Price gave me a book for free that I just mentioned in passing that I wanted to read. And Dr. Chuluba asked me about my research for almost 30 minutes when I was at the Jepson Symposium last semester. So clearly we have some really good eggs here. Now, I want to preface all of this by saying that at the end of high school awards, I did win our Faculty Cup, which is basically a glorified teacher's pet award, so take everything I'm saying here with a grain of salt. But we have some really great professors here, so if I had to give you all a piece of advice moving forward, I would say make friends with your professors. They can open so many doors for you, and you might find yourself on a path that you're better off on because of it. Thank you.
All right. I've got different advice for you guys, but still pretty similar, so hang with me here. So when the JSGA approached me to give this speech about 2 months ago, I said yes immediately, and I was anticipating a prompt to come in, right? Some kind of instruction sheet telling me what they wanted me to talk about and topics they wanted me to cover. I waited a week. That prompt never came. I waited 2 weeks. That prompt never came. I waited 2 months. The prompt never came. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a procrastinator, And next thing I knew, I was a week out from this speech and had no idea what they even wanted me to talk about. But that's the Jepson way. There are no scripts or hardline instructions here. Each one of you gets to decide where your story goes. No hand-holding. And that can be scary. I know a thing or two about scary things. When I was 18, I was drafted into the Singaporean Army, where I spent 2 years as an artillery weatherman. Many people ask me if that experience was hard. Nah, it was easy. You know why? Because I had a place to be, what time to be there, what to be wearing, and what to bring. When my 2 years was up and I came here, I had to figure that out all by myself. And that's really scary, right? No one's telling you where to be, what time to be there, and what to wear. You got to figure that all by yourself. Nothing spoon-fed for you here. It was all on me. And now, it's all on you. Believe me, I made my mistakes in trying to figure that out, as I'm sure you will too. There are a few parts of my life's prompt that I would have liked to cut out. My first college C was in a Jepson class. My first college heartbreak was in Jepson. One day you're cruising along high and mighty, and then bam! You have a broken heart and a C in a class. What are you going to do about it? Now, surely, like Tim, you said there are no prompts or instructions. Surely you have to figure that out all by yourself, right? Nah. You have the community of faculty spread out amongst this room who act more as co-directors rather than script writers. They will stand beside you and ask you hard questions. Hard questions about yourself, hard questions about the class, and hard questions about what you want to do with your life. Sometimes they will make you uncomfortable, but that's how you get your noggin working. And that's where the magic happens. If the faculty did not think you had it all up here, you wouldn't be sitting in front of me today. So ask for help, but be ready to bring something to the table. And it's not just the professors you have to lean on. You've got the people to the left and right of you. This ain't a solo mission. You've got your fellow Jepsonians. I've spent many a late night in the Jepson Student Lounge. After tonight, you will have access to that. It's always nice to see someone come in at some ungodly hour, Mackenzie, even if it's just to print something out. That 1,000-yard stare of a tough academic load is enough empathy to get you through the night. You may not get along with everyone in this room. I get that. But at least you have one thing in common, a shared desire to learn in a different way. As I've implied, your time in Jepson will not always be comfortable. Oftentimes, you will be confronted with perspectives that you don't agree with. They might even make you angry. You'll think they're wrong. And maybe they are wrong. But you should seek out not to prove them wrong, but rather to prove yourself right. You must be open to read like a spy in the enemy's camp, as Seneca said. Simply saying you're wrong because your argument is stupid is not enough here. The question is less, why do I think they are wrong, but rather, what are they saying? Immerse yourself in the ideas of those you disagree with so you can better understand them and take them down as needed. As a student at the Naval Academy and Stanford University, John Stockdale studied the philosophies of Marxism and Stoicism. When he was later shot down over Tan Hoa in Vietnam during the Vietnam War and captured, he was able to keep a cool head whilst understanding the philosophical beliefs of his communist captors. He was even able to correct his interrogators for misquoting Lenin. While I hope none of you end up in a similar situation, I do hope that you will take this mindset of studying opposing views like a spy in the enemy's camp with you. When I first started out, I'd often breeze through readings regarding topics and arguments that I didn't agree with. If they weren't right, what was the point of even reading it in the first place? But I soon realized that it's in my belief that they are wrong that should be the motivation. To know your enemy is to know oneself better. Who knows? You might even change your mind. It may be hard, but you'll have fun along the way. Trust me. I've done projects analyzing Taylor Swift's appearance at Chiefs games in relation to viewership. I've done essays about Star Wars. You can really make your time here your own. Trust me. To conclude, I'd like to acknowledge a full circle moment. I'm about to hand off to Sydney Haas and Dr. Lauren Henley, one of my first friends at U of R and my first professor in college, respectively. Dr. Henley has been my advisor since my freshman year. Sydney Haas has been my friend since freshman year and an inspiration to me through the past 3 years. Both have been absolutely pivotal in my development as not just a student, but as a leader and an adult. Dr. Henley asked me the hard questions, and damn did she make me work for my grade in that class. But both her and Sydney were my introduction, and now will be the conclusion to my time at the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. And I wouldn't change it for the world. Sydney, take it away.
I was going to open by saying how honored I am to share tonight with Tim, who was one of my first friends at the Jepson School, and Dr. Henley, who was one of my first professors at the Jepson School. So thanks, Tim, for queuing that up so spectacularly. It is my honor to introduce our featured speaker tonight, who I met a few days before classes started as an Endeavor student and has been my advisor all the way through. So maybe I am a little bit biased towards her, but I think she's pretty incredible. Dr. Henley is a historian whose research examines youthfulness, race, gender, religion, and crime in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. She has had her work appear in the Journal of African American History and Souls, a critical journal of Black politics, culture, and society. As one student recently told me, Dr. Henley challenges us to look into seemingly unconventional forms of leadership to better understand how we can become strong leaders, no matter the context we find ourselves in. She is well respected by her peers and beloved by her students. It is my esteemed honor to introduce to you Dr. Lauren Henley.
I hope I can do Tim and Sydney proud. When I was first asked to speak tonight, I thought I'd lean on my historian's training to tell you all about the rich legacy you're joining as part of the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. Maybe I'd tell you about draft number 4, our intellectual blueprint that says, among other things, the fabric of democratic civilization depends upon citizens who understand that leadership means service and that their very citizenship carries an obligation to lead when circumstances demand. Maybe I would remind you that the purpose of leadership studies is, according to Jepsonian sensibilities, to explore fundamental questions about who we are, how we live together, and how we influence the course of history. These kinds of insights confirm that you are embarking on an intellectual journey of consequence. They tell us that the study of leadership matters, not only as an academic pursuit, but as a practical obligation to make the world a better place. I thought I'd implore you to recognize the duty that comes with a Jepson education, invoking the Spider-Man mantra that with great power comes great responsibility. But then my historian's true training took over, and I realized that I really just wanted to tell you a story. In 1946, a baby boy was born to a young single woman in upstate Vermont. His early years were rough as he was shuffled between his maternal grandparents and his biological mother, eventually settling in Washington State as a teenager. The boy struggled to adjust on the West Coast, and although he finished high school, he enrolled in college, but soon dropped out. While on a hiatus from university, he got involved in local politics. He volunteered for Nelson Rockefeller's presidential campaign and became Arthur Fletcher's driver during his bid for lieutenant governor of Washington. Increasingly interested in politics, the young man attended the 1968 Republican National Convention, and 4 years later, just after finishing his undergraduate degree, joined the movement to re-elect then-Governor Daniel Evans. During this period, he undertook a risky strategy. He posed as a college student, writing a paper on gubernatorial races, and collected intel from the opposition by, well, just asking the candidate directly. This approach was considered so impressive that when Evans won, he quickly appointed the young man to Seattle's Crime Prevention Advisory Committee. This experience aligned nicely with the 26-year-old's previous employment with Seattle's Suicide Hotline Crisis Center. In 1973, the Associated Press noted that the aspiring young politician was appointed as a special assistant to Ross Davis, then chairman of the Washington State Republican Party. That same year, he'd even witnessed a purse snatching and chased the thief, eventually apprehending the bag and its taker. The following summer, in 1974, he interned at the Department of Emergency Services in nearby Olympia. The young man not only talked the talk of politics to promote social transformation, but he walked the walk. It is not surprising that the young man's political ambitions and civic work combined to lead him to pursue law school. He wanted to effect change from the inside and was once quoted as saying, "When one campaign stops listening to another, I think the system's breaking down." Perhaps he thought he could join the chorus of people trying to prevent systemic breakdown in America in the mid-1970s. By all accounts, the young man whose discordant childhood had brought him from the Northeast to the Northwest was an up-and-coming political superstar, described by lawmen as polite and mature, by a college co-ed as fairly good-looking and intelligent, and by a former friend as very bright, intellectually astute, and very political. There is no doubt the young man was poised to become a heavy hitter in state and national politics. He was a local leader whose influence seemed to grow more impressive every day. This young man was Ted Bundy. While he was hobnobbing with the region's political elite and counseling people in distress from taking their own lives, he was simultaneously murdering dozens of teenage girls and young women in 7 states. Bundy was conventionally attractive, disarmingly conversational, and physically unremarkable. He leveraged these characteristics to kidnap, bludgeon, assault, strangle, dismember, and decapitate his victims. Eventually, he would confess to killing 30 people and would be executed in Florida in 1989. Likely, his victim count is much higher. Ted Bundy may be America's quintessential serial killer, but until he was caught, he was also America's quintessential up-and-coming political leader. In the Jepson School, we do not ask you to pick between these two uncomfortable truths. We ask you to embrace them as evidence of the importance of leadership studies. So, why did I tell you this story? Because draft number 4, the guiding blueprint to the Jepson School, also tells us this: not all who have borne the name of leader are to be emulated. Over the course of your Jepson education, you will study the good and the bad of leadership. Sometimes the good and the bad will be on opposite sides of the past or the present. Often, however, the line between the two is not so clear. Your Jepson studies will equip you with the skills needed to make sense of this gray area. In this muddy middle, serial killers like Ted Bundy and cult leaders like Jim Jones can coexist alongside countless American presidents and international CEOs. Grappling with the significance of this reality is not just a lofty academic pursuit, but an essential enterprise as you decide what kind of world you want to live in. If you're open to it, if you're courageous enough for it, let your Jepson education serve as a call and as a warning. Leadership has the power to build and the power to destroy. Learn the how and the why of both. And then, as draft number 4 tells us, commit to being students of integrity, compassion, and imagination. Understand the truth, no matter how complicated, and then, and only then, stand in your convictions. Welcome to the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Henley. She was in my office the other day and she said, I'm going to talk about murder. And I was like, okay. And I knew that it would be poignant and it would be thoughtful. So you all know me. I'm Kirsten Soderlin. I had the great pleasure to be working with all of you through the admissions process. I do that each fall. And I was one of the first people that had the opportunity to welcome you to the Jepson School at our new student orientation 2.5 weeks ago. But it's always really the most fun to formally welcome our new class at our Prelude ceremony each year. So members of the class of 2028 and our newest member of the class of 2027. Tonight you've heard some insights from representatives from the junior and senior class and the thoughtful remarks from my colleague, Dr. Lauren Henley. But now it's time to recognize all of you. So at this time, I'm going to ask our newly admitted students to stand and be recognized. All right. We are excited to have you join the Jepson community, and we look forward to all that you're going to contribute. So I'm going to ask for a round of applause. Applaud yourselves, applaud one another, faculty and staff. Woo! All right. I'm going to let you all sit down. I'll fill you in on a little secret. Not that many years ago, we used to call each and every one of your names and make you come up and walk up front here. And it caused a lot of anxiety for the new students. And I'm not going to lie, it caused a lot of anxiety for me because I had to read all your names. So we're going to let that wait until we get to commencement at the very end. And Dean Peart may have already mentioned this, but our last student, and we have 2 Zs in this class, will get the loudest cheers at commencement, if Dean Peart has not already told you that. As you're leaving this evening, we'll be sharing with you certificates welcoming you to the school, but more importantly, your very first piece of Jepson swag. Can't get it at the bookstore, gotta get it when we make it available to you all. So now I'm going to turn the program over to Jimmy Connolly and Mackenzie Proku, the Jepson Student Government co-presidents for this year. Thank you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Kenzie Proko, one of the co-presidents.
And I'm Jimmy Conley. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
We just wanted to share with you some parting words. First and foremost, thank you so much for attending our Jepson School of Leadership Studies Prelude ceremony tonight. As seniors, we can attest that this is the first step in your journey as a part of the Jepson School, and you will not forget it during the rest of your time here at U of R.
Following tonight, you'll be immersed in an academic environment that teaches you what leadership was, what it is, and what it should be, ever-changingly, with the humanities and social sciences serving as lenses. But your Jepson experience will be much deeper than that.
It will urge you to build on your strengths and grow from your weaknesses.
It will encourage you to collaborate closely with others, whether or not they share your perspectives.
It will introduce you to a multitude of impactful professors who will serve as mentors for a lifetime, both inside and outside of the classroom.
And most importantly, it will inspire you to lead and motivate you to be a well-educated, active follower.
American writer and humorist Mark Twain once said, "The secret to getting ahead is getting started."
Congratulations once again on your starting point tonight, and welcome, Jepson Class of 2028.
Two quick announcements before we conclude tonight's event. First, make sure to vote this coming Tuesday, November 11th, for 3 sophomore senators that you would like to appoint to the Jepson Student Government Association.
Second, stop by at the table on your way out to pick up your Jepson t-shirt and a certificate. Dr. Soderlund, Linda Trent, and other JSGA members will be out in the lobby to hand out those items to you.
Thank you for your time.
And have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.